after this, I'm gonna go drive up and listen to music with Rick Rubin at his house. And I'm like, let me just not mess this up. And it's really just trying to figure out, make sure I'm always creating the conditions that lead to the best work. I was terrified. I thought I was terrible, but the teacher really, Cara Platoni, she really thought I was good. So she was like, you're really good at this. Dude, I'll tell you what, man, when it comes to hip hop, I feel like no one's having more fun than the women right now, man. I don't know. I don't think anyone cares. I guess.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Dre Smiley podcast, the inner circle, where normal people living extraordinary lives share their experiences with you.
All right, so I'm excited to have Justin Richmond on today. So I'll read a quick bio for Justin. Justin Richmond is a producer and co-host of the music podcast Broken Record with writer Malcolm Gladwell, New York Times editor Bruce Headlam, and music producer and Def Jam co-founder Rick Rubin. Justin was a producer of NPR's flagship program Morning Edition and its accompanying podcast Up First before becoming an arts reporter for NPR. He began his career as an intern for the Tavis Smiley Show and Smiley and West. Justin, go ahead.
Shout out to the Smileys. Shout out to the Smileys. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Smileys of the world.
There you go. Justin has a BA in philosophy from the University of California, Berkeley, and a master's degree from the Berkeley Graduate School of Journalism. With that, Justin, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me again, man. I feel at home with the Smileys. I got a couple Dre's up in my family tree, so it's like this is all love right now. This is
awesome.
A reunion.
Awesome. There you go. So here's I'm trying to figure out how to capture this in terms of how I feel about having you on the show. I love. I'm a product of hip hop. I love music. I enjoy NPR. I kind of grew up on NPR with my dad and whatnot. Listen to it today. So it's almost like having you on the podcast, in my mind, is like having a museum curator, right, of some high-end, world-class, world-renowned gallery that has had an opportunity to see all the different pieces of art and whatnot from across the globe, smell it, touch it, kind of experience it. And now we, Smiley and I, have an opportunity to speak with this curator, right? To kind of glean from him what he has experienced. So that's kind of what's going on in my head, Justin. That's what's going on in my head. I don't even know where to begin. I
gotta be real. I feel the same about my own life sometimes. I'm like, man, this is a perfect synthesis of everything I've loved and wanted to do. So yeah.
Do you like pinch yourself sometimes in terms of like where you are and what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Like after this, I'm going to go drive up and listen to music with Rick Rubin at his house. And I'm like,
yeah,
what's going on, man? It's very crazy.
So let's just start there. Because I was trying to figure out where do we begin. Let's just start there. For listeners who don't know, shame on you. Rick Rubin, and you can add to this because you clearly know him. Rick Rubin is one of kind of the architects of where hip hop began, right? So he came on, he was he was in the early stages, like one of the forefathers, right?
Yeah.
And
he'd have to be on the Mount Rushmore to imagine,
For sure, right?
Yeah, he'd have to be.
Yeah. And the fact that you are connected with him, what is he like? My perception of him, based on what I've seen, read, and heard over the years, over decades, is that he's just like this, kind of like the Einstein of hip hop, or not hip hop now. Now it's music,
and now
like
just
all
music
genres.
More generally, and really like he's so involved even in things that like his name's never ever gonna be on, and it's like things that are just so far outside the realm of music. It's mind blowing. I don't know. It's hard knowing him. I would never try to sum him up in word. It's just It's impossible. But what I say, my personal experience with him is he's one of the coolest cats. One of the most coolest, open-minded, just down to earth music nerds I know. You know what I mean? Like when I first met him, it was like, oh yeah, instantly it was like he's just like every one of my friends who's a music nerd. Like there's no difference, you know. And
Sure.
yeah, he's a incredible human being. Man, he might not be a human being. Who knows? You know, but
Right. Yeah, he's so unique. Because when I think about things I've read and seen, so one thing that comes to mind is how he produced 99 Problems of Jay-Z, right?
yeah,
And for listeners who haven't heard that song, it's just, I mean, just it's I don't know how you would even describe it. It's just so unique and authentic. But then he's also produced like genres I've never really, delved into that if you listen to it, it sounds equally amazing and astonishing. How does he and from your take, how does he do it, Justin? What's his secret? What's his secret sauce?
to me, he's like the greatest listener I've ever been around. Like the things he'll absorb being with people is insane, you know. And the things I've observed him absorb while working, you know, his memory and recall for the important things are incredible, you know. Like just knowing what take after X amount of takes, like 3 days later knowing, okay, 3 days ago we did X amount of takes, but the version I'm hearing now wasn't from this take. Like the drums are actually from the second take, but that was the bad take. We need it from the, you know, and you're just like, wow, that recall is incredible. But that's beside the point. It's really like his listening, and through his listening, I feel like he's able to know you, and he doesn't distill you down to your what he thinks are your essential parts. Like he doesn't like hear what you say and be like, okay, I have you figured out. He listens to what you say and then like holds a mirror up. So it's like, oh, now I see myself better. You know what I mean? So it's almost like when you work with a therapist and it's like, they're not telling you how to feel, but all of a sudden through a conversation with them, I'm like, oh, that's exactly how I feel about this thing, you know? And I think that's why artists who work with him, when they're open to doing the work the right way, I think they end up like a Jay-Z, like 99 Problems to me is, I mean, there's so many great Jay songs, but when you think about what 99 Problems is in Jay-Z's catalog, when you think about the breadth now of his catalog, you're like, oh, that's kind of like everything, like the perfect encapsulation of everything Jay does.
Yeah.
Storytelling, now when you think about with the 444s out in the world, the maturity, but there's also like, you can go back to like, there's some of that Reasonable Doubt, crime noir, like vibe in there, you know? So it's like, it's just like, he's, I feel like is able to really capture snapshots of exactly who people are, you know, in weird ways. So yeah, that's my long-winded way of saying it. He's a great listener, and I think that's why the work he turns out to be seminal, you know.
Justin, can you, for our listeners, define Dre introduced you as a producer? What does a producer do compared to, say, you mentioned Jay-Z. Jay-Z's the rapper. Was Rick Rubin the producer? Is that the business financials part of it?
You know, man, what a producer has for so long been so, you know, it's really whatever it needs to be. And financially, the financial arrangements have changed. Even with songwriters, what it means to be a songwriter, what it means to be, it's so convoluted. But you know, like in the world of hip hop, like there's producers who just make the beat, right? And but like, let's say like there's a record. Well, what might be a good example is like, let's like take one of like Eminem's early records where like, you know, Dr. Dre did a couple of beats, but also like Melman and a couple of other people, producers made beats, but you know, Dr. Dre was the executive producer on that. So, you know, Dr. Dre then was working with M to make sure, I don't know 100%, this is what I imagine, that like there was some consistency to the various songs, and that the finished product sounded like one thing, not like just like a compilation, right? So, you know, I don't know, it's just hard because there's like hip hop producers, like where you're just a beat maker. Then there's like an EP position, more like a Dr. Dre. Then there's like, you know, like rock producers, and there's like EDM beat produce. So it's like, it's all over the map. But so it's so convoluted. But essentially, I feel like a producer is like a person who's really there to just sort of help kind of get artists across the finish line and help develop stuff too, if needed.
So that's more from a music perspective, but let's say Malcolm Gladwell, he's not
Yeah.
a rapper or music. So when you produce him, are you producing the outliers? Are you producing his books or
With Malcolm, I'm more producing him in the audio world of audio, and not always. Just certain projects I've been a producer on. We did a Paul Simon audio book where Malcolm interviewed Paul Simon for about 30 some hours, and we turned it into a 6 hour, like pretty incredible audio book. Uh, that if you listen to it, it's just like a journey, you know. And you know, in that land, it's sort of like, I guess, you know what kind of you could compare it to. It's like being a coach. It's like, you know how everyone will say like, of course, Phil Jackson, anyone could win if, you know, if you have Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and Kukoc and Dennis Rodman and, you know, on and on and on and on, and then Shaq and Kobe. But it's like, really, it's like, as a producer, you need to be able to know, like, so for me, like, of course, like, I have a Malcolm Gladwell that I'm working with. It's like, that's like having a Michael Jordan. You're like, right? So all you really, it's like, how do I not fuck this up? You know, how do I not mess?
Yeah.
Like, let me just not mess this up. And it's really just trying to figure out, make sure I'm always creating the conditions that lead to the best work. Like I want to, so I'll do all the things that don't lead to you. Like I want to do all the things for you that you don't want to do. Therefore, your time is really just spent on being creative and right. And you know, that's probably what Phil Jackson was doing, right? Like, look, I'm gonna deal with Jerry Reinsdorf from the front office and all that stuff, and you guys just focus on basketball. You know?
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I
So
guess that's probably what it is.
yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. So tell me about how you got into being a journalist and a producer. Tell me that journey. When you were younger,
Yeah.
was there someone that was your mentor? Did you have a family friend and you thought, I want to be like that person? Tell me about the journey, the path. Where did it
Nah,
start?
you know what? I wish I had someone around that I could have pointed to and been like, that's what I want to do. I don't think I didn't know what, I mean, I fell into journalism, you know, like I kind of really, it was like a real happy accident. I, by the time I transferred from community college to Berkeley to get my bachelor's, by that point I was like, you know, kind of the only successful people I knew who I felt like really had their life and careers together higher were in higher education, right? It was like the professors that I was around in community college. I was like, I want to be like one of, they seem like grown-ups to me. Like I want to be like them. So when I went in to get my bachelor's, I was like, okay, I'll do this. I'll go get a PhD and I'll teach, like wherever. I'll just go teach. I'll be a professor. Like that sounds like a good thing to do. I can see the path. I know some people who do it. Like, so this is perfect. But once I got there, I started. I took like a student job at the front office of one of the, you know, various departments there. You know, name no names. And while it was a great department, what I realized was a really great department with great people. But what I realized is like, you know, there's a lot of bureaucracy involved with that whole thing. And so I was like, well, there's a lot of really talented but frustrated people here, you know. And I was like, I don't necessarily want that. I don't want to surrender to that right now, you know. So I was like, let me figure out, is there something else I could do? And as well, in college, I met a professor by the name of Ricky Vincent, who was he was actually taught my he was teaching a course on Black Power that I took, and he wrote a book on funk music. He was writing a book about the Black Panther Party at the time. He had a radio show on KPFA, and you know, it was through conversations with him, I was like, well, you know what, like I like what I wanted. Like the reason I want to teach is like I want to research, I want to write, and I want to like show people what I've researched and written. Like I want to like teach that to people or show it to people. And I was like, well, okay, I guess a version of that is kind of what you do on the side, which is journalism, you know. And so I took a journalism course. They didn't have an undergrad journalism, so they had like one class you could apply to, and it's through the graduate program. And so I applied to it. So I was like 1 of 20, got accepted to that. And I was terrified. I thought it was terrible, you know, but the teacher really, Cara Platoni, she really thought I was good. So she was like, you know, you're really good at this. And, you know, so yeah, she encouraged me to keep going. And honestly, by the time I graduated, I couldn't get a job, man. I was trying to get a job. I tried to get a job front desk at a yoga studio, front desk at a massage chiropractor place. I tried to be like whatever work at a law office. I was like, oh, maybe I'll be a lawyer. So let me go see if I like it. I'll go work the front desk. They turned me down. Like I was getting turned down. Like I applied to some banks. I didn't even know what bankers did. But I was like, hey, maybe I should go try to work at a bank. Like whatever that means, They turned me. Meanwhile, I'm the worst person to be in a bank. I don't know nothing about math. They turned me down. Everyone was turning me down. But my final in that journalism class, she encouraged me to submit it to the East Bay Express, which was like a local newspaper magazine up there. And that check for that came through when I was trying to get all these jobs. And I was like, damn, it's my first paycheck after college. Might as well just keep it pushing. And that was I just sort of kept failing forward into journalism. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so then talk about how you went from that to, my guess is that there was kind of a, windy path, and share as much of that as you can, but
yeah.
How did you get into podcasting from journalism? So I know you did some time at NPR. You can talk about that a bit as well, but
yeah, well, first got into like radio. I mean, I helped out that professor with his radio show, KPFA. So that was cool, but it wasn't really, that was more like, that felt closer to the music side of things, didn't feel like I was doing radio journalism per se. But what happened was, and I thought in terms of journalism, like I wanted to write, like be a writer. But what happened was, so I couldn't sustain myself on just freelancing for the East Bay Express. So I had to move back home to Southern California. When I got back home, I was like, well, I just applied to the circuit of like restaurant jobs that I knew I could get, got a job at a restaurant. But I was like, I still have this journalism thing kicking around. So let me try to figure out how I can make this work. And I just started cold emailing producers for like, I thought easier than getting like a freelance writing gig is let me email producers of TV and radio shows that I like, and just see if I could help out. You know what I mean? Only person I emailed a bunch, just found producers' emails online, emailed a bunch of people, and I heard back from Tavis Smiley's producer. So they're like, yeah, come through. And I came through and that's where I first learned like how to cut tape and like write a script for radio and like do, like I learned all like I think the third week they had me write a whole hour radio special for Tavis. So I was like, whoa, man, it just kind of threw me into it. So
baptism by fire.
Yeah, baptism by fire. And I was just like, whoa, and so I really fell in love with it. I was like, well, and I was like, I can't believe you could make a living doing this. I was like, this is enjoyable. Like I could do this and it's enjoyable. You can make a living doing this is great. So that was the thought. And so even though I wanted to write, I knew the writing thing was just difficult unless you were like an East Coast star. Like it was just like, how am I gonna? So I was like, you know what? I should just do radio as my day job and write on the side. And slowly but surely, it's just become, well, this is just what I do. Like, forget right now. Now I write on the side, and I do. Now I I don't write ever really. Like I wish I need to get back into writing shape, but this is what I do now, and I love it. From Tavis Smiley, I got into grad school. Thanks to that same professor at Berkeley who taught me, Cara Platoni. She really pushed me to get into that grad program, I'm sure. Got into there, and when I was there, I met Kelly McEvers, who was about to be the host of All Things Considered at NPR, and we hit it off. And I was like, hey, like I see this opening for this overnight position for Morning Edition from LA. Like, what do you think? And she's like, well, it's a tough position, but she's like, it is a good way in, and if you want to do it, like I got you. So she was one of my recommendations. It was an overnight editorial assistant for Morning Edition. So what I was doing was I was helping Renee Montaigne, who was broadcasting out of Culver City at that time, with Morning Edition. And so I was really just reviewing scripts, making sure there were no errors, writing some scripts, etc. But then the next move up from there was to become a production assistant. So then I just then I moved over from editor, then I became then I sort of hit that producer track, and that's when I started doing,
Gotcha.
That's when I became a real producer. Yeah.
Okay. So looking at your producing, let's say resume of working with Rick Rubin, Malcolm, the Smileys, anyone that you look at now and say, I want to be a part of that, or any of these young artists or up and coming podcasters that you say, like, I don't know, I'll just throw out, if Elon Musk wanted to be do a podcast, you're like, I would really like that opportunity, or is there anyone that you look at, or maybe you're in the Bay Area, so maybe Kamala, when she's done being vice president, you were like, I would really like to be her. Who's on your horizon of like that would just make you extraordinarily excited to work with that artist or that talent?
Man, there's a lot of people I would love to work with. A lot of people I've had the chance to work with where it didn't work out for whatever reason. I feel like the person I would love to produce for, and it's going to sound very, I don't know. I'm just going to say it, man. I want to produce something for President Obama. I really feel like, he hasn't reached his he's done a couple of things in the podcasting space that I think could have been better. And I think, I don't know. I just feel like I understand that, brother. You know what I mean? So I feel like we could make something good,
That would be Nirvana. I'm sure if Obama's not listening to Dre and Smiley now, he'll probably be listening to us soon. So we'll make that connection as soon as we get on Obama's list.
Thank you.
We got you covered.
Yeah, we got you covered. But no, that's cool. So when you think about in the music space, like these young artists coming up, different rappers or anyone that you listen to, or not, that you look at and you say, I admire their music. It might be cool to work with them, or even if it's a different genre.
I'll tell you what, man, when it comes to hip hop, I feel like no one's having more fun than the women right now, man. The women in hip hop are just having I listen to any of the dudes rapping right now. It's real, like, it sounds like they don't even have their heart in it,
Right.
And then I listen to these women, they got punchlines, they got bars, they're talking shit.
Yeah.
They're having fun. Like this is what I love. This is what I loved about hip hop, was the fun. Yeah. And I listen to these dudes and it's zanned out this and pilled out that. And it's just like, are you guys even having fun? Why y'all sound depressed, man? Get on some, forget the Xanax, get on some Zoloft, my brother. You know what I mean? Y'all making millions of dollars. You don't sound happy, but these women sound happy, man, to be rapping. And we're finally in an era where it's not like just one woman at a time, where anyone can, all of them can eat at once,
Yeah.
And the youngest one that I'm really feeling right now is Doechii, who she can sing to, and she can rap. She's incredible. So yeah, and I really like, her, in terms of actually her singing voice. It's just her voice. I really like. Oh my God, what's her name? Oh man, how am I slipping on her name right now? Doja Cat.
Oh, Doja Cat.
Great singing voice.
Okay.
But then just when it comes to rapping, like, of course, like Megan Thee Stallion and Mana Leo and so many of them just having fun right now. I even started getting into Ice Spice recently, man. I was at first I was not sure, and then now I'm like, I get it. It's just fun. This is great,
Slowly won you over, huh?
Slowly won me over,
time.
Man.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely.
You mentioned in your response to Smiley just now about if the opportunity presented itself, producing for President Obama, right? Because you were saying that, I'm sure he's not the only one, but there's other podcasts you listen to where you're thinking, that could have been done a little bit better, right? So talk to me about that. What makes, from a producer's lens, right? What makes a broken record episode a great episode? What do you look for?
There's a lot that goes into it that you can't account for, man. And sometimes that's like, again, because we're an interview-based show, so much about it is, how are you turning up that day? How's the artist turning up that day? And then how do you click together? And are you able to, and if you're bringing some baggage from your day in and they're bringing some baggage from their day in, are you able to shake your stuff off and help them shake their stuff off and have a real like revealing, beautiful conversation and really connect, or you're not able to do that. And it's like, so much of it is like, there's like, you want to book a good person, you want to make sure you have the right equipment, and then you want to make sure you spend good time on the edit and write something nice to make sure to get it flow into it and all that. But it's like, it's like doing an interview show is kind of like making a movie. And that what I've heard people say who make movies, I've never done it, is that, what's on camera is all you got, right? Once you get to editing, editing can make things better. I take things that are not as good as they can be all the time and edit them to make them better. But yet and still, I only have what's on tape. And so it's really like what occurs in that room that it's like, so I really, I work very hard to try to, if I'm doing the interview myself, like try to get people to relax and be comfortable and let their guard down. Not because I want to, not because I want to, not in any like nefarious way. Like I don't want to let the guard down and then I'm going to like throw a right hook or something. Like, I really just want to have a relaxed conversation. Now, if I'm producing, I do a lot of weird things that don't even make sense. Like I like just weird, like I like candles and just certain little, superstitious things, that I do feel make a difference. And they probably don't, but like an athlete, like I feel like I got to do it,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So the next obvious question in my mind is, how do you go about finding guests, artists for not only Broken Record, but for your other podcasts that started from the bottom, which I want to dive deep into in just a moment. But how do you go about finding guests?
Yeah. So, on Broken Record, I talk with the other hosts and we discuss who we think could be interesting. And we started from the bottom. I talked with my producer, David Jour, and we similarly, like we have like a running list of names of people we really want to talk to. And we're constantly adding to it. We're constantly finding people. We started from the bottom. One of the beautiful outcomes from this is really like, I think, once we get a few years into this and you're able to scroll through the feed, I think seeing how plentiful Black success, Latino success, all that, like, right, it's not rare, man. Like there's so many people out there doing their thing, but it's so easy to not find those people or to not be connected or to not see them if you're a young person and you just don't have the connection. So it's like really like one of the beautiful things that me and my producer David Jour, who's Chinese and feels it's very similar to like how I do about things, is like, wow, like there's so many interesting people that look like us doing interesting things, and we're just finding them, like just they're all over, man. And we're collecting them. We just can't wait to talk to them, So we're always adding names, and this is the people we know. Like, of course, like for me, like I can't wait to do an episode with Magic Johnson because I grew up in LA, and we had the Magic Johnson Starbucks and the Magic Johnson movie theater. And, like it was all like, he was sort of to my mind, the consummate Black businessman when I was growing up, but like I want to also like talk to the people who, you've never heard of, and there's so many out there. There's so many. So
the last part of what you just shared, correct me if I'm wrong, encapsulates what Started from the Bottom is all about, right? Finding these people that a lot of people may not have heard of, that have made something of themselves, found some type of success, not necessarily financially, but just
not even financially. Certainly some of it is financial, but it's also like just it could be scientific or academic, or like it's just success and also fulfillment. These are people who ultimately have found fulfillment, and found purpose for their life. I think a lot of us, I just through my conversations, through schooling and through into my professional career, I just had a lot of conversation with not just Black men, but other people of color, and also just women more generally. Is that like we didn't grow up seeing a lot of people that looked like us who felt like they, who were really who were successful in the sense of not like that they weren't successful, but that really felt like, oh, this person's doing the thing they need to be doing with their life, you know? And so, yeah, I just really wanted to be able to create something where it's like, okay, because we didn't grow up around these people necessarily, let's just get these people on record and create a space where you can now go hear these people, man, talking about their journey and how they did it, because it's just different, man. I think showing up to the boardroom as a black man or as a woman is just different than showing up as a white man, right? It's just a different language spoken, and it's culturally different. And if you're not fluent, it's not going to feel so natural. And those are things you can't, even if you have a mentor who's white and is super successful in the business. Well, even if you got Elon Musk, he can't tell you what it's like to stand in front of a boardroom as a black man, right? And have to tell investors like, hey, we're short this month or whatever, right? Like, it's like there's these intangible things that you only if you know someone that looks like you will you be able to know. That's how you're going to navigate that situation, you know,
for
sure. Subtle complexities.
Do you find that when you find these successful representatives, but that they're humbled by a culture? I use that as an example because we had some representatives on our podcast, and two that comes to mind is we had this amazing husband and wife from Tennessee that they like, oh, we're nothing special. We only do churros. And then you talk to them, they got like 30 churros and generating all this capital. Then we had another brother here, and he's like, oh, I don't do anything exciting. I only have a valet trash business, but he grosses $90,000 a month. And he's just real. We're like, dude, you are so amazing with what you're doing. But the people, they don't see themselves as being, it's just like, this is what I do, but they don't see themselves. So do you find that that's cultural, or is it the same that you're finding with your representatives, that they're amazing, but they just don't see themselves that way?
Well, I think what I've noticed is with a lot of the people I've spoken to, there's most of them seemingly have gotten over the hump, but there was certainly in their stories, there's a lot of like that imposter syndrome thing where it's just like, yeah, it's just what I'm not that but and it's like over time they've had to be shown, now you are special. And one of the most incredible things, and one of the most it's frustrating, is that a lot of the older people that I've had on, I'm amazed by the amount of programs that were available to them in the day that seemed like existed through the 80s that were purposely trying to bring in talent of color or talent that are women, right? And like, it's like, I don't know, I certainly didn't encounter any of those programs. They're like, oh, we want to make sure when you come in here as a black guy that you're going to be positioned to become management one day and not just like working, you know what I mean? Like, but through those programs, like I'm thinking about like an Ursula Burns, who ended up being the first black woman to run a Fortune 500 company. Like, she specifically, when she got to Xerox she got into Xerox based on a program that was, we want to bring in people of color to our company.
Right.
And then once they're in here, we don't want to just drop them off. Like, we want to mentor them through. So like, she had so much mentorship at that company, and it was just like, wow, that doesn't exist anymore. So like that whole process, like, helped her and allowed her to evolve into like becoming like, now she's supremely confident. Like no joke. Like she knows she's the business, and it's like, it's real. She is. And so yeah, I've noticed that. And then there's been some other people who, maybe they're a little overconfident. We had a couple people hit us that, oh, we don't do black shows. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, it's not what this is. I'm black.
Right.
It's really for. I mean, we're documenting all kinds of different stories, but I hear you loud and clear.
Right,
you don't do
right,
black,
right.
Cool. And I don't do you, so fine.
Right.
That's understood. So here's one before I turn it back to Dre. So it's 2023 now, and we're sitting here talking with Justin, and let's assume it's 2033, and Justin says, I'm most excited that I've done this in the past decade. How would you complete that? It's 2033 in the future. You've already completed and produced Obama and Sasha Malia. That's already behind you. No, it's, are we looking at world leaders, or what are you doing now? Because it's 2033 and you're just super ecstatic because you completed that whatever that decade goal is?
Man, I guess I'm most excited that I've started a company.
What kind?
I would like to do that. A media company,
Oh, awesome. No,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Of,
I
of,
like
of,
that.
of, yeah, yeah,
Global
yeah. I
or
realize.
international?
I mean,
Domestic?
why not international?
Might as well dream big.
Haven't thought
Dream
about
big.
it, but if you're asking, I guess okay, yeah, sure, international. We'll do Canada too, okay?
All right,
There
that's
you
fair.
go. There you go. There you go.
Thank you.
So tell me this, Justin. You mentioned it at the top that you're going to go listen to some music.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you saw the show that Questlove produced, showcasing or highlighting the last 50 years of hip hop. Did you happen to see that?
You know what? That was the one. It came out like a year ago, right? Him and
No, it came
Black
out
Dot.
earlier this year. It was on.
Earlier
It
this
was
year?
on the Grammys or something. He
I
showcased.
didn't see it.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to upset anyone, but you didn't miss a whole lot. It was essentially a number of the founders of hip hop came out and did very short bits. It was kind of a collage. You had.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it, but
Yeah.
I heard. Yeah. I did hear
So
about it.
here's the question. Give me you're from LA.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
give me your top 5 MCs. And again, this could change tomorrow. It's always debated, but in this
Easy
moment,
number one. Look, number
Okay.
one, easy, always and forever is Pac.
Okay.
Always just that's easy. That's
Okay.
that's like that doesn't change and probably will never change.
Okay.
Um,
Now, just to be clear, this is East Coast and West Coast, or are you just doing West Coast?
I'm doing everyone. I'm doing this is
nationwide.
in the
Okay,
whole
good.
list.
I just want to make sure nationwide.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
yeah.
go
Pac
ahead,
probably
go
falls
ahead.
in just my favorite. I mean, for me, if I'd have just even outside of hip hop, probably Pac falls somewhere in my top 5 just artists of all time, up there with Stevie.
Okay.
And but yeah, but certainly when it comes to hip hop, just all time, any location. Okay, I would say Pac.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say now it's in no particular order. Okay, but Pac's number one,
yeah,
but now it's in no particular order.
No order.
2 through 5 is no particular order. I'm gonna say Lil Wayne.
Okay.
I'm gonna say man, okay. I'm gonna say I wanna say it, but I don't.
Go ahead and say it. No
Long
judgment.
Beach, I gotta say Snoop. I want to say Snoop.
Okay.
But really, this is cheating. But I'm gonna say Snoop in the Dog Pound because I feel like like Snoop Dad's Corrupt. Like they can be
right.
That's one.
Okay.
And if I say Snoop, then we're also talking. Okay. Okay. So that's 3. Then I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say Jay-Z.
Okay.
You know what? No. Take Jay out. I'm putting Nas there.
Okay.
And
That's a
then
tough one between those two.
I know. I've lately been leaning towards Nas just because Nas has had those few great records recently where I'm like, yo, my guy's killing it. So I'm like, but before I for sure would have said Jay. Now I'm gonna say Nas.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna say, oh man, okay, we're down to the last little spot here.
Yeah.
If I had to really, okay, I'm gonna say, this is tough, man. This is tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
I guess damn. I guess Kendrick.
Okay.
Wow,
that's a respectable list.
Yeah, I have your list here. I'm just surprised.
Being from your area, though, I was surprised, or I was curious. I'm not surprised. I was curious if you're going to put E40 somewhere on there too, but it's a tough list. I mean, I don't know if he's in top 5 or not, but I was wondering where you might have him.
Pac is Bay Area, LA, both in one, so he counts for both.
It's covered.
But on your list, I'm surprised because I got on my list Pac, Lil Wayne, Nas. But I would have had to throw Eminem on there, just from a lyricist perspective. And
I used to love them, and just, you know, it's been a while. It's been a while.
It's been a minute.
It's been a while,
been a
but I'm
while.
just looking at the great lyricists, the way they put the words together and everything. And then I think the last one on my list would have been I like Easy, but Ice Cube, because he was the scribe behind
Cube,
it.
yeah.
So I like Cube. So that would be my 5. So we match on 3 of the 5. So but
I almost said Cube or Easy, and I almost even said
right.
Dre, even though he don't write, just because I love
right.
just the way his voice hits on the track. But
Yeah. You know, one that I grew up on, I'll throw this as an honorable mention, is DOC.
Oh, yo, DOC's incredible.
Right.
That record he put out, No One Can Do It Better, Nobody Does It Better.
Right.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Can't remember which one it is, but it has
Method
that.
Man, Wu-Tang. I mean, there's a whole list of them.
There's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong.
Meth, Ghostface. I mean, Meth and Ghostface, right? I mean, they're incredible.
For sure.
So
another question for you. Actually, 2 quick questions. So the music,
Big Boy and Andre.
Damn,
Big Boy and Andre.
Oh yeah. You got to pull it through them in there. So the music.
Each part of the country got its classics.
The music you're going to listen to, Justin, is that new music or just you guys just listening?
Just a little bit of everything. Just go cool out.
I was just
listen to
curious.
some music. Yeah.
Cool. All right, so we're kind of winding down now. One question before we hit the final 4 that we have. You seem to be kind of an open book. You have these podcasts out. You've been on other shows before and whatnot. What's one thing that people don't know about you that you wish they knew?
Oh man. One thing people don't know about me. Man, you know, that I don't know, man. That I wish they knew. I mean, I guess I wish that people, I don't know. I don't think anyone cares. I guess, you know, it's funny. Like, I feel like there's a couple of vibes I've given off my entire life that I'm not 100%, haven't 100% been clued into. One is that everyone always assumes that I'm a stoner. You know, I'm almost never high. So I don't, you know, I'm like, okay, you know, I'm glad you assume that, but
Right.
And I mean, I guess that's cool. I get some cool points on that, but nah, I don't.
Right.
And 2, that I'm very confident, but I'm really not. I'm deeply unconfident. But I just try to show up and do things. You know, it's like I try to really, like, man, my gut feeling when I do things is not good. Like, my gut feeling is like, yo, this is not gonna be good, you know. But I always find a way to, in my internal dialogue, just tell myself just to do it. You know what I mean? And just like go let it fall where it will. You know, leave it all on the floor and just show up and do it. And if you fail, then that just means either that thing's not for you or it's not for you yet. You know. And so, yeah, I feel like, you know, early on in life, that gut feeling of like just fear stopped me from doing a lot of things, you know. But I've learned to not trust that over the years, you know. I know that my gut, people always say go with your gut, and to a degree, yeah, but I also know that my gut has been wrong a lot. And so a lot of times I override my gut, man. I hear it all the time. My gut's like, nah. It's like, yeah, but just go do it. Don't be a dumbass. Go do it, you know, like. So, you know, I wish people knew that. For one thing, you know, don't be harsh with me. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know, sometimes people just hit me with. I'm like, okay, all right, I know that sucks, but let's just, woo, you know. And then 2, you know, just because I just want people to know. Like, I feel like I just want people to know, like, you know, you can't listen to that thing always. You know, like that. It's there for a reason. I think it's there for a reason. Maybe you really do suck at that thing, but you ain't gonna get better not doing it. So it's like, again, like I feel like it's also been beneficial for me to learn that about me, that people see me as one way, that I feel another way, and I've somehow learned to like kind of bridge the gap, you know.
You said something earlier. You said a happy accident, and you kept failing forward. That's so prescient. Failing forward. I love that. And so that goes back to the question you just responded, or the answer you gave to Dre. You just keep doing the action. So
Just keep
as
the
a
action.
segue
Like
into
everything again,
final,
like nothing was working. I couldn't get that damn job. I couldn't get a single job. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna go do journalism. Let's say, but okay, but this is taking me way better places than if I had gotten the front desk of the yoga.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
again, it was just like failing forward. It's like I threw my failure. I just kept
Yeah.
moving, kept it pushing.
You ended up where you
I
were
like
meant to
that.
be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You ended up found your spot.
That's weird.
So here's the final four. If you were to have dinner with anyone, alive or dead, there's only 4 chairs at the table. You're sitting at one. There's 3 others. Who would you want to have dinner with and why, alive or dead?
Me and 3 others or me and 4 others?
You and 3 others.
Okay.
You and 3 others.
I know it. Tupac.
Okay.
Tupac, Nora Ephron, who was the writer, a movie writer and director, and also a journalist, and Quincy Jones.
Oh,
Quincy.
man.
And why?
Nice.
That'd be my dinner. Pac, I mean, well, Nora Ephron loved to cook and throw dinner parties. And she was an incredibly smart woman and just an incredible writer. And so would love to have her around. And because I know she would make it like, it'd be perfect. Like it'd be set up perfect, dialed in. It'd be dialed. Quincy, because, again, I've been lucky enough to be around Quincy, and it's like the stories are insane. It's just like, woo. And then Pac, because I think that's just that'd be, Pac is good energy, Pac was a lot of energy, but I know he knew how to be in a room, he knew how to charm people. So I feel like that would be it'd just be I'd love to see the 3 of them and hear the stories and just sort of see where that went. But I like that they're all kind of different people from different walks of life, it's like, so that'd be my dinner.
That's so cool because I met Quincy, I think it was 94 or 95 in New Orleans at a NAPTE conference, which was an North American Association of Production Television Executives or something, where you pitch your screenplay and try to get things in. And I actually met Quincy, and he was such an approachable guy, and there was about maybe 20 of us, and he shook our hands, and he was just an amazing spirit. He gave us some words of wisdom. And when you mentioned Quincy, I was like, I could see that because Quincy was just such a deep, inspirational persona, a mythical person. And he was so approachable that I just got positive vibes when you said Quincy. So thank you.
He's just like, he'll talk to, as I try to explain it to people, and you're so right. That's what I feel like people don't know about him, is like, he would talk to the King of England, the President of the United States, and the janitor as if they were all of equal value to him, and I think because they really are all of equal value. I mean, just these people as people, and he just loves people, man. And so it's like, damn, it's cool,
Nice. What's been your greatest success?
My greatest success, has been. My greatest success has been, the corny answer would be my family. But the truth is, it's been learning how to be a family man, It's been learning how to head a family with my wife, because I didn't have really any examples of how to run a functional family growing up. So the fact that I have a functional, beautiful family, and I've so far not screwed it up, is a miracle. And I would say so far it's my greatest success, and I hope it remains my greatest success, though. In other words, I hope I don't mess it up, but so far so good, Knock on wood.
So what is your superpower? The Flash goes really fast. Thanos destroys the world, and the Thor has his hammer. What is Justin's superpower that only he has? His Marvel superpower.
I don't know. I think it's hard to. It's so awkward for me to like think about. I feel like my intuition's really good. Like I feel like I know. Again, I was saying I don't trust my gut, so this is different from my gut. I do feel like a refined intuition where I'm like I can just sort of I can kind of tell when a situation's right or wrong. I can also like kind of really chameleon like fit into a certain. It's like, okay, this is how I know. Oh, I can feel the vibe in this room. This is how I'm going to need to be here to operate in this conversation or with this person. It's not like I'm fake. I'm always myself, but I do know I'm like, oh, I adapt. I'm like, okay, boom, I got to be more like this and approach this like that. I can kind of feel it, and I feel like more often than not, I've been right. I've been right because I've been in situations where I'm like, oh man, I could tell this person I'm with is like not like I'm just really good with social cues. I think I'm like, all right, this person don't really want to hear from me like at this level right now, so I'm gonna just sit here and be quiet. Or they want to hear. It's like I feel like I do know how to sort of be with many different kinds of people. So I think my intuition probably.
Okay. And when you shared, as you shared that in terms of your ability to adapt and fit in with different people, different rooms, things like that. Have you read Born a Crime by
Trevor Noah?
Trevor Noah, yeah.
I did read that actually.
So there's a part where he talks about, because he speaks different languages, and there's a part where he's talking about how what you just described, growing up because of how he looked in South Africa, certain rooms he'd walk in and they'd assume he was, one person until he started speaking that language. Yeah. And then he kind of fit in. Other rooms he'd walk in, they'd assume he was, another certain person, and he spoke that language.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think all of us have some level of that,
Yeah.
If you're lucky,
yeah,
right.
If you're lucky.
I remember as a kid seeing my dad exhibit what you mentioned that Quincy Jones, you imagine him doing, be able to speak to a president or king or whatever, or a janitor. My dad would do that in different environments and really connect with everyone. And as a kid, I didn't understand. I'm like, how is he being fake or? But it was just him really having this ability to adapt and connect with people. So that resonates with me as you share that story, Justin. Yeah. Last question for you. What would be the title of your biography?
Oh man, that's a good one, isn't it? Oh man. Born a Crime is a damn good one. I wish I could use that.
But that's taken.
It's taken and don't fit anything in my life really. But okay, hold up. I'm like, now the bar has been set high.
I know a podcast title that can work, but then again, it's already a podcast.
Oh yeah, right. Start from the bottom. I would say, oh my God, I don't. Damn, does this one trip up other people too?
We'll let you know after you answer.
Oh my God, what would my autobiography be titled? Okay, it would be, and it's published today or it's published in the future.
Either way,
it could be after you have your multinational, international media company. Yeah. It could be 23. It could be 10 years from now. Whatever you want.
The publishing company just wants to know the name of the title now, so they can be prepared to launch it.
Man, this is one of my greatest. I just said one of my greatest. Well, what I think might be my superpower. One of my greatest flaws is terrible at titling things. Always have been. Okay. Man, I can't even, I don't know. Justin Richmond, what
would Rubin, if you say, hey, Rubin, give me a title for my book, what would Rubin say? Rick Rubin.
I'm a cop one from Miles.
Okay.
Birth of the Cool. You know what I mean?
Birth of the Cool.
That'd be cool.
I like
it. You know what I mean?
Birth of the Cool.
It's about just adapt. It's about it's about adapting. It's about being a different, you know what I mean? Different environments. Okay. You know what I mean?
I love it.
Be Birth of Cool being like Bruce Lee, be like water. You know what I'm saying?
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, be like water. Well, Justin, man, I want to thank you first and foremost. Thanks for exposing us to your world, to your podcast. I'm going to definitely check them out. And to this conversation, I learned a lot about. I didn't know the difference between producers, and now I understand it, from the audio world to the hip hop world, and also for the inspiration of filing forward, happy accident. This is just a, a body of great information. So thank you for sharing your time with us. I appreciate you.
I agree, Justin. It's interesting that, we've had a lot of different guests on our show. You think of it, we've probably had them on here, not necessarily someone famous, but just different walks of life. Something that I really appreciate is your level of humility. You've rubbed elbows with, some pretty big name people. You mentioned earlier at the top that you're going to go listen to music with another big name person. Your humility, is remarkable. I appreciate that. Number one. Number two, taking the time out of your day to, kick back and, chop it up with us. Us nobodies.
It was fun. Let's do it again.
I really appreciate it. And then, the little nuggets. We have a podcast. And so it's always nice to talk to other podcast hosts, producers, things like that, to get ideas and things like that. So definitely appreciate your time, Justin.
No, thank you guys. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. And yeah, let's do it again, man. I'm down, but just don't hit me with that. I'm gonna come back and actually hit me with that. I'm gonna come back with a better answer to the autobiography question. I feel like I need to redeem myself at some point.
No pressure. No pressure.